Hi, everybody. It's Val Hart, the real Dr. Doolittle, and I've got a great show for you today. My wonderful guest. Oh, we're just now in live? I don't know. Thank you. This is Val Hart, the real Dr. Doolittle, with Tim Link, my wonderful guest. We're going to be talking about how to find missing and lost animals, how Tim's specialty is doing that, and what we want to do with this series of animal communication mini training interviews is to help you better understand how to use and harness the power of animal communication in your own life. I know all of us have had missing animals at some point, or came across a missing or lost pet and tried to figure out how to get it home. So if that interests you at all, then you're in the right place. So this show is dedicated to all animal lovers. We professional animal communicators believe that animals are in our life for a reason. They are angels, teachers, healers, and guides. And when we learn to recognize, respect, and revere them for the master teachers and brilliant, wise ones that they truly are, then they help us be better humans. So let's go right on into our chat today. So again, my guest is Tim Link. He's an expert in the field of animal communication. He's a Reiki master. He does Reiki energy healing also for animals. And as part of Tim's animal consulting business, he's worked with people around the world who have lost or missing animals. For more than a decade, he's had a great deal of success in reuniting animals with their families. While no one can guarantee that a lost animal will be reunited with their family, there are particular steps that Tim is doing such a great job and has mastered of implementing those steps to be reunited with your missing loved one. So there are also things that you should avoid doing. He's the author of Wagging Tails, Every Animal Has a Tail, T-A-L-E, and he's soon to release a second book, Talking with Dogs and Cats, going to be published by New World Library in June of 2015. He's a regular contributor to Dogster and Catster online magazines, regular contributing writer for Victoria Stilwell's Positively Expert blog. He's the host of Animal Rights Show on iHeartRadio, a guest on many television shows, Fox and Friends, Morning Show with Mike and Juliet, Better Mornings Atlanta, Good Day Atlanta, Good Morning Texas, Good Day Colorado, Tennessee, San Diego. Oh my God. He's even been featured in People Magazine's People Pets. So his website, in case you would like to check him out while we're talking, is www.wagging-tails.com, wagging-tales.com. Welcome to the show, Tim. I'm delighted to have you.
Well, it's my pleasure, Val. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I love it. You've done such great work. You know I send a lot of lost animal cases to you, and I really don't envy you because this is a really difficult field, and you've done such a good job of helping so many people. So let's go ahead and jump in and keep on with it. So today we're talking about finding lost and missing animals using animal communication. So to dive in, why do animals leave their homes? How does that happen? I mean, why? What do you think?
Right. Well, some of the basic reasons we all think of. The animal got scared, was chased away by another animal, went out on an exploration and hasn't found its way back. So some of these things we find as being fairly common. But the things that people may not know is the fact that, just like you had mentioned at the top of the show, there's a reason for the animals to come into our life. There's purpose. They're here to teach, to heal, whatever it may be. And so when they have fulfilled that purpose with you or your family, sometimes they just leave. And they go off to find another mission, another purpose with another family or another individual. So there's numerous reasons they leave. Some of them are, the day-to-day things, like you want to make sure they're protected and they're not digging out of the yard and the landscape person hasn't left the gate open. You want to make sure there's no confrontations with animals in their household or people in the household. As well as wild animals, they happen to be outside. But you also have to realize that they are here for that purpose, and when they've fulfilled that purpose, sometimes they move on and try to help out someone else.
I understand. I also often tell people animals sometimes go on walkabouts. It's part of their evolvement. It's an adventure, it's an exploration. It's a chance to test themselves. And I love that you said sometimes their purpose is complete. Or I know in my work, sometimes they'll tell me that they've been called to someone else who needs them. And they'll go find their other family or their whoever needs them next is where they'll go.
Absolutely, and it's hard for us as humans to sort of accept that and understand that. We always want to blame ourselves for it. I didn't do enough. Should I have treated them better? Should I have given them more, et cetera, et cetera. And in some cases, it's just simply you've done everything you could do and should do, and you should accept that blessing that they were in your life and unfortunately allow them to move on, as hard as that is. But there's just so many numerous reasons. You talked about the walkabouts. I had a cat just the other day. Had been gone for 3.5 months. Went on a little walkabout, worked with them, got the cat to come back, and the cat came back home. And cat act like it was no big deal. They were eating their food and everything was great, and looked at their human companion just saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm here. Don't worry about it."
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. It's almost like I want to say the so-called primitive societies where where they went through like a vision quest, or they tested themselves, some kind of rite of passage or something, and they have lives of their own. They're not like animated stuffed animals that you just stick in your house and keep forever. They have their own purpose, their own destiny, their own legacy, their own thing that they're following, and their own wisdom. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they learn from us, and they learn from the other animals around also. And so it's not uncommon for an animal, a cat in particular, we'll say, that tends to stick around the house, maybe go on the back porch or the back deck, all of a sudden go exploring just a little bit further, then a little bit further, and then they go on one of these walkabouts, and they'll team up sometimes with other animals to learn from them. And then when they think they have some more lessons to teach us, they'll come back, or we can get them back, convince them to come back, and everything seems to be back to normal for them.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Thanks. Tell us a story. Tell us another story about an animal that you've worked with, maybe one that didn't want to come home, or that that you really did have to talk into, or something like that.
Yeah, there's on the website you'll see a lot of stories and a lot of articles that were written. From some of the amazing ones were a Yorkie in Texas, a blind 18-year-old Yorkie that someone left the door open accidentally and wandered off. The Yorkie lived in does live in a very rural part of Texas, and basically the lady had contacted me to see if we could locate where her animal was. I told her that there was a barn probably a couple of miles away, and the barn smelled like freshly shaven wood, like it was a workshop. And she found that kind of hard to believe at first, a blind 18-year-old Yorkie wandering aimlessly for 2 miles. But she looked around the area, took the map that I provide from the Map Dowsing, narrowed down the area, found a barn, and asked the gentleman who owned the location, "Have you seen my dog?" And he said, "Well, guess what? Yeah, actually, I was pulling up here to going to drive over and let you know that I think I may have your dog, or a dog that is similar to what you posted." And lo and behold, she opens the barn door, and there's her dog standing there in a pile of wood shavings. And
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, and he's a woodworker. That's what he does. He's a retired person that's a woodworker.
That's fabulous. I love it. I love it. That reminds me of a case I did. It was similar. It was an older dog got away, and she told me where. The only thing she was aware of, it's like, well, a little ways from home, and there's this concrete, thing, and it looks like this, and there's clearing, and there's trees, and it was enough detail, that the person could figure out, where that was, and sure enough, they went, and there was the dog waiting for them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was another. It reminds me of another story with a cat that I had. A lady was having a yard sale, and she has an indoor-outdoor cat. A lot of confusion going on with the yard sale. After the sale was done and she was putting everything back in the garage, she went to feed her cat. The cat was nowhere to be found. So she went looking, looking, looking. 2.5 weeks passed, never did find her cat. Contacted me. I told her the area that the cat was in, that they were in a house, they were being well taken care of, there was a blue pickup truck, etc., etc. So she tracked down the area based on the map I provided her, pulled up to the house, there was a blue pickup truck, rang the doorbell, asked if she'd seen the cat, and out of the garage comes her cat. And apparently,
Wow.
so I guess apparently during the yard sale, the cat had climbed up in the back of the pickup truck. When the people were done with the sale, they drove home, got home, found this cat, and thought, okay, well, I've got a new cat now.
I didn't even have to pay for it. My garage sale find the kitty. Oh, that's too funny. That's great. Yeah. Well,
But
you know, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but there are so many different cases, and each one are unique. Just like each individual animal has their own personality and their own unique purpose and mission for being here. Each of the lost animal cases are unique, and the places that I get contacted from people around the world. I've helped people in Hong Kong, in Australia, all over the UK, Tel Aviv, all over the U.S., Canada, Mexico. So it goes on and on. So you have to realize that this happens. Animals do happen to wander off or get lost, and my goal is to try to help you reunite each other. Help you reunite with your animal if it's meant to be. And in most cases, we have a great deal of success, but there are some cases where we just it's not meant to be.
Right. I think that's got to be the hardest part. I know so many people, they are trying to find their animal, and then they can't for whatever. There's so many factors here. This is one of the most challenging areas, I think, in animal communication work, because the animal is constantly moving. They could be anywhere at any time, and they have their own reasons for where they are. And then, of course, it's maybe scary where they are, or they don't recognize things, or now they're in survival mode, or they're not sure that they want to come home, and there's some issue with their person that they're just like, I'm done. Leave me alone, I'm moving on. And it's so hard for people to accept. It's just a painful thing.
Oh, absolutely. And even the opposite case is when an animal is brought into a home. Sometimes people fall in love with the animal and don't want to release it, or they feel bad because the animal's been left out for so long that they say, I'm going to, particularly with cats, I'm going to keep the cat inside so it doesn't get hurt. Animals are stolen. That's a very big part of the business as well. That animals that are stolen off people's front porches, their backyards, whatever it may be, trying to locate them. So that's even a more an additional unique part of the work that I do, is the fact that even if they're stationary, we got to find that location, and then we've got to realize that if it's in a person's home, that in most states here in the U.S. is considered property, so we can't invade someone's home to get our own dog, cat, rabbit, whatever it was that was taken or taken in.
Right. I really, it's so sad to me. And then there's the other side too. It's like finding an animal, a stray. Here we've got an animal that showed up on your doorstep, or is running in the neighborhood or something. So talking to them and finding out, where did you come from? How do we get you home? Do you want to go home? What's going on with you at home that you left? Or were you dumped? Were you abandoned and just dumped? How do you help them?
Yeah, and it's the same method. It's just in a reverse method. We have to communicate with them, and then we have to map down for energy. Of course, their energy is at your location, not at the location they came from. So you have that extra, added twist to it that makes it a little bit more of a challenge. So there's a lot of things that go into it. Like you said, it's it's the challenging part of the work that I do. I think it's a very vital part of the work that I do, and dealing with not only the emotions of the animal that is lost, but the emotions of the human companion or family, and dealing with that, it does have its fair share of challenges.
I admire you very much, Tim. Thank you so much for doing this important service. Let's talk about some of the techniques that you use. What can you share with us? How do you do your process, and what can our audience, what can our animal lovers that maybe are just learning animal communication, or aren't quite as skilled as a professional might be, or certainly you? What can you tell us today? How do you use your techniques?
Yeah, my process basically is, I need the name of the animal, a picture of the animal, their home address, the address they were left from, and their address where they were last seen. That's the bits of information I need to start my work. From there, I basically connect with the animal and communicate with them and try to find out as much information as possible. Things like, are you inside or are you outside? Have you been out on your own for a long time and walked many miles, or is it a short distance? What are you seeing? What are the physical things you're seeing? Homes, trees, knickknacks in the yard, anything that will give me some clues on what they're seeing and how they're doing. We go through their physical and emotional state of mind as well. How are they doing there? And are there any wounds or injuries or anything of that sort we have to be careful of or cognizant of? So there's
Right.
a list of just sort of what I call peeling back the onion to gather as much information as I can. From there, I set all that aside. I pull up a series of maps, and these are maps. It could be simply a Google Earth map, MapQuest map, Bing map. Use whatever maps that you feel most comfortable with. It can be a physical map that you got from the auto store or AAA auto store, wherever it may be. And I use a technique which is called Map Dowsing, which is using a pendulum and a map, pulling the energy, connecting with the animal, pulling the energy from the animal to connect a general area where the energy is strongest on that particular map. And I like to use a few different maps to determine, am I getting some consistencies here? And so I'll map down to as close of an area as I possibly can. On those rare occasions, it is an exact house or an exact lot, wherever the animal may be. Often it's a city block, maybe even up to a 1 mile radius. But we try to narrow that down based on the animal's energy. From there, we pull up the details of the map to see what we're seeing on the map, whatever the map can show us, especially like a Google Earth that has a pretty good, and Bing has a pretty good detailed mapping system where they can get down to some of the items that are in a person's yard or some of the structures, business structures, whatever it may be. And then I take the first list, which is the information I received from the animal, compare it to what I'm seeing on the physical map based on the energy signature area that the animal provided me, and try to give the people as much detailed information as I can, provide them a map and with pinpointed areas saying you may want to check here, you may want to check these different locations, and then provide them a list of guidance on the back end, suggestions, things that, tips, things that I think would be successful and methods that they should use. And then from there, I'm forwarding all that to them via email. Most of my communication is done via email in these lost pet situations. So by the time you get the information back from me, you've got a complete list that you can print out that has everything your animal's provided me, a map, detailed map of the location where your animal's energy signature is strongest, and then my list of suggestions. So print that out, take it with you, and go out on your search, assuming we can't get your animal back to your home. In some cases, we can get them back to the home or back to the neighborhood, but in those cases where we can't, you have to physically go out and find them. You've got the tools now and the list of information you need to be, have a greater success in being reunited with your animal.
I love it. Yeah, so it's a complicated process that you're doing. It's quite a service, and I know that, again, animals are like a moving target. So sometimes they're there by the time the person gets there, and it's a happy ending, and sometimes it's not quite that easy. You want to speak to that for just a moment?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's why it's important. I try to time the work to when the person or people are going to be available. That's going to be a key. Give me all the information that you need, that I need in advance. Give me as much information as the things I just listed. But the critical part of it is, when are you physically going to be able to go out there, or when is your team, whatever it may be, your neighbors that you gather together, when are you going to be physically able to do this? And I want to hand you this document at the same time you're ready to leave out the door, or perhaps you're already in your car or truck ready to go find the animal. Because if they are moving, common factor behind it is a dog. An average sized dog, just a medium sized dog, can travel up to 6 miles in a day. And that's just when they're roaming, just when they're exploring. If they've been frightened or scared or they're in danger, they're going to go at a much more rapid pace. So when you consider, if you leave, you go out and you search, you kind of hope the animal comes back on its own, and a week passes by, well, guess what? I'm not a math whiz here, but your animal could be easily 30, 40, 50 miles away. And that gives makes it a little bit, much more of a challenge, because I've got to narrow down that area your animals may not be familiar with the route to get back home, and then it may be in a location you're totally unfamiliar with.
Right, right. All challenges. Whew. So tell us more about map dowsing and how someone would go about learning how to do that.
Yeah, map dowsing it's just using a tool to connect with the energy of whatever you're trying to connect with. So we think of doing dowsing mostly with dowsing rods, for instance, whenever we're trying to determine where there's a energy source for water, if we're going to dig a well, or we're going to dig for oil, whatever it may be. You can use a dowsing rod or some sort of a tool of that sort to do that. I like to use pendulums. Pendulums help me narrow down the area very succinctly. You've got to find a pendulum you're comfortable with. So don't just go order one online. Go to your local metaphysical store, see what resonates with you, see what you have the greatest amount of movement with.
Show us yours, Tim. Can we see yours?
Oh, goodness. Well, talk for 2 seconds, and I'm going to grab one of them. I'll my purpose. So,
that would be fun. I want to see how, see the video. I have one. It's been a long time, and I'm not very good at this. I remember when I was learning how to douse. Guess you can see me while I'm talking, huh, guys? Well, I remember when I was learning how to douse, it was really challenging. There's an art to it. I think everybody can do it if you try.
Well, yeah, I think using a pendulum is great, even if you're not going to get involved with lost animals or use it for this purpose. You can use a pendulum to determine, is the book I'm pulling off the shelf the right and perfect book for me? Am I going to learn the lessons I want to learn? Is this particular brand of vitamins good for me? So find one that resonates with you, and I'll show you how to use one real quick. But find one that resonates with you, that connects with your energy. Put it in your purse, pocketbook, back pocket, whatever it may be, and take it with you everywhere you go, and start practicing with it. And most of all, learn to trust it. Trust what you're receiving from it. That's going to be the critical part. But here's my little gold box, very well worn gold box. And I have several of them in here, but there's one that I come back to over and over again. And it's really kind of ironic because this one is made out of a sort of a brass metal material, and you can see the pendulum right here. Mine's a little spiral metal pendulum.
Hold it up a little higher. There you go. Oh, that's gorgeous. Wow, how beautiful.
It looks like a little bullet. It's got a point. It's got that. And
it looks science fiction. It looks like something in the Lord of the Rings. Okay, go ahead.
And the amazing thing about it is it's an all-metal pendulum. Pendulums are usually made out of metal, but they also made out of precious stones. Really whatever energy it collects that resonates with your energy is the one you should be using, or you can use multiples. But for me, the funny thing about this one is it's all metal, and I have a high allergic sensitivity to metal. So if I actually hold something of metal, substance for more than 5 minutes, my skin and oils and pores start collecting it, so I can taste the metal.
Oh!
Yeah, so it's kind of ironic. Something I should probably stay away from is my main thing to go to.
That's great.
But my key thing here is I'll try to give you an example here. You want to hold it in a comfortable state, and this is not necessarily comfortable, but I'm going to do it so we can hit the camera. But you want to get the pendulum to stay still. Okay, so I'm trying this the best I can. Okay, I'm going to ask a question of the pendulum based on something I already know. So, for instance, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so let's see if we can get it still. And I say, pendulum, can you verify that I live in Atlanta, Georgia? Okay, I'm getting a little bit of movement, but it should go yes or no, or have the movement to give confirmation that yes, what I'm receiving is true. So right now we're still getting some kind of stagnant energy because it's just moving in one place.
Right.
Because I don't really live in Atlanta, Georgia. I live in the city of Cumming, Georgia. So do I live in Cumming, Georgia? Am I right now in my office am I sitting in an office in Cumming, Georgia? And you can see for me, my positive indicator is moving up and down.
Right.
In a vertical motion. And I'm not moving this, it's just moving itself. Then I can ask a question that I know, get it back to center again. Okay, see if we can get it to stop shaking here. And they'll say, okay, pendulum, do I hate pizza? You can see how strong that is. Okay.
Do you hate pizza?
Yeah. And so that's the movement. So I apologize for the little bit of shakiness, but what you learn from your pendulum once you start working with it is you're going to get a yes confirmation you're going to get a no confirmation. It doesn't necessarily have, it probably won't match mine. Mine goes vertical for yes, horizontal for no. Yours could be totally opposite. It could be whenever you get a positive yes confirmation, your pendulum just starts going in circles or vibrating back and forth. And if you're getting a no confirmation, it could be stagnant. It could just sit in one place. Okay, so when you're doing your pendulum, you'll rest your arms comfortably on a surface, if you can, to hold your body parts still. Clear yourself, open your heart, open your mind, connect with the pendulum, and you ask them those series of questions. And you say, you know, is the dog's spot, you have to picture a spot, you're connected with spot, is the dog's spot presently running along a creek bed? And see what your pendulum does. If it's yes, you know you're on pace. That's one of the markers you should make. If you ask another question like, is there a person? Has he seen a person? Has he been with a person? And it shakes no, then you know he hasn't been with a person. So it's part of that whole process. And so when you're using that with a map, it's the same thing. You're pulling up your map, you're holding it up to the map, or if you have a physical map printed out, you hold it up over the area, and you start asking questions. You know, is the animal known as spot alive and well in this area of the map? And if it says yes, you go a little closer. You narrow down that map. You keep narrowing it down till the pendulum is not giving you any more energy confirmations. And at that point, you know that's your area, that's your circumference, the general area where the animal's energy is the strongest. And then you can compare it to the information the animal provided you, and at that point it should narrow it down a little bit more, give some more clues to what's going on. But pendulum work is a great thing to use. Use it in your daily life. Trust it. Take some time. Go out and try several of them first. Buy them. They're not very expensive at all, so you can have several of them around. And truthfully, if your energy is shifted, it's good to have some made out of different materials. The metal one here may not be resonating with me on a particular day if my energy has shifted slightly. You may want to have a few of them around.
That makes sense, Jim. Thank you so much for the demo. I kind of put you on the spot there. I think you prepared that.
No, that's okay.
I love it.
Now I'm craving pizza. I got to get out.
Well, it was astonishing. You were just when you thought pizza, that little thing, it just started going nuts.
That's right.
Oh gosh. So we haven't talked about the white elephant in the room yet. So I think let's go ahead and bring that up now before we finish up, which is people's worst nightmare, their worst fear, which is that their animal is passed, has made their transition, not alive anymore. So, what can you speak a bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously one of the worst things in the world that can happen because the challenge with animals, first of all, is if the animal has made their transition, everybody wants to find the body. Human characteristic is we have to have a body in order to have closure. That's why we have funerals. We have to usually see the body, give us confirmation that the person has made its transition. Same thing with animals. Animals and as humans, we're very connected with our bodies. We view ourselves often as our physical body. This is me. If my hair doesn't look right, my nose doesn't look right, whatever it may be, that is me, and that is absolutely not you.
And thank God for that.
There you go. Yeah. So it's our soul, our essence, our energy. That is who we truly are. And when we have chosen this vehicle that we're in to fulfill our purpose while we're here, and then when we fulfilled that purpose, or we can no longer, if this vehicle is no longer supporting us, we have to make our transition. And that's the same thing with animals. That same exact process they go through. They go to the same place that we go to. They come from the same place that we go to. The only difference is the animals realize that the vehicle they're using, their body they're using, is not who they are. So they're very easily detached from that body once they've made their transition. So once that golden cord, as we call it, as I call it, becomes severed, and that energy, that spirit, that essence goes up into that heavenly space, that universal space, they could care less about their bodies. And their energy is no longer in that body. So trying to find the physical body of the animal is a challenge. And it's one of those things the animal truthfully doesn't care about. So that's hard to explain to humans. It's hard for us to grasp onto.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, and so for me, for the work that I do, how I determine in my mindset if the animal has made a transition is when I connect with the animal, the information I receive is minimal, and the energy that I'm receiving from the animal is what I call floating or flighting. It feels different. It's more scattered. It's more floating out there. I actually get a feeling of being uplifted off of my chair or where I'm at and feeling the floatiness around me. And that's usually one strong indicator that the animal has made their transition. If the animal has passed, has transitioned, and has been gone for several days or weeks or months, then the information I receive from them will still feel a little floaty, but it'll be a little clearer. They'll be able to communicate with me a little bit better because they have made that transition. Their energy has regenerated up to its full potential, up to its full purpose. So I'll gather more information.
Mm.
And then
Yeah, I got that.
yeah, in the pendulum work, it's the same thing where we showed the example of the pendulum. For me, my confirmation was moving vertical for yes, horizontal for no. Whenever an animal connected with the animal's energy and they've transitioned, typically my pendulum will vibrate. It'll vibrate in one spot. I'm making it do this, of course, right now, but it'll sort of vibrate in one spot. No matter how much I try, it won't move from that spot. So those are usually indicators I get that, based on what I'm receiving from the animal and the energy and signature I'm getting from the animal, that they've made their transition. Yeah. And it's the worst thing in the world, especially when you've had one that's lost and that goes up missing. Make their transition. It's terrible. But I will say this: when we go back to what we talked about earlier, reasons for them leaving. That old saying that the dog went away to die. That is absolutely true. That does happen. Animals, once they fulfilled their purpose. If they've done everything they need to do and they don't need to go anywhere else to help anybody else out, often they will go away to die. That's sort of their preference of how they want to do it, because they feel that makes it easier on us, their human companions. Where in fact we're just the opposite. We want to be there when they make their transition. We want to help them out. We want to be part of that process. Usually end up beating ourselves up over it afterwards, wondering if we did enough or did it too soon or too late or whatever it may be. And the animals will always honor that. If we want to be there, they'll try to do their best to transition when we're there. But that's when we see often when an animal has gone off on its own or has made its transition while you're gone, to work, to vacation, whatever it may be. It's because they feel it's easier for the whole process.
Yeah, I hear you. That I'm just thinking. Apparently, I'm not thinking. I forgot. I had something important I wanted to say, and I forgot it. Okay, well, never mind. So, I know you have a final message for our audience today?
Yeah, the key thing is, what I want to stress with everyone is, if you have an animal that comes up missing, contact someone for support right away. Whether you contact me, another animal communicator, bring in as many people as you can, friends, family, support mechanism. Get on the case right away. And on my website, there's a whole list of suggestions that I recommend as first steps, things you want to do right away. So don't hesitate. Get on it right away. And above all else, trust what you're receiving. Don't let anybody else tell you anything about your animal as far as trying to convince you. It's human nature when we feel that we're comforting another human, another friend or family member, that after a while we try to convince them that, oh yeah, he's gone, he's not going to come back, he must have passed away, there's coyotes in the area, whatever it may be. And so we think we're helping that person, when in reality they have to know in their heart and their gut that they've done everything they can and they followed everything that they need to do to find their animal. So don't ever give up. Don't let anybody talk you out of finding your animal. Put the process into motion right away, and you'll definitely have a greater opportunity for success in being reunited with your animal.
Thanks, Tim. You've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're talking about this and doing this important work.
Oh,
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So you've been watching an episode of The Real Dr. Dolittle Show. This is my wonderful guest, Tim Link. So learn, educate yourself, get a pendulum, play with it, if you're missing an animal, we wish you all the best. Let us know how we can help. So be sure and don't keep this series and this show a secret. So if you'll scroll down and leave us a comment, show us some love, give us some feedback, that would be wonderful. We answer everybody's comments. And let's see, be sure and get your Quick Start to Animal Talk course on the animaltalkcoachingclub.com website. So in the meantime, best wishes to everybody. Much love to you and your animals. We love you and we care. So, all right. Thanks, Tim. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Bye, everybody.